Good afternoon. I'm Jim Spencer. I'm with the Bluefield, West Virginia Economic Development Authority, and today we're in our Small Business Success Center, and we're proud to have Matt Bragg with us from the local health department. And today he's going to talk a little about the health department regulations, and then we'll answer questions. Faith is monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. But also, we're going to have some other questions here that have been asked of us, and we appreciate Matt being involved. Keep in mind, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to teach a class that will be led by Matt in the food handler's license. And so we'll have more about that coming soon. So Matt, thank you for being here.
Thanks, sir. Got any questions come in so far? Yeah. See the forms up there? Are they up there? Can they see them? All right. So when you're coming into the health department, when you're wanting to submit your application for a food permit, I've got a list there of files that you definitely want to have. You'll want to get with your local health department first thing. That's definitely something you're going to want to do. You want to talk with your sanitarian, your health inspector, and see what they're going to require. Now, they're going to require an application. They're going to they're going to ask for a plan review. Now we have some of those files there. Yeah, right there where it says the SF5 in the top left there. That one right there. Yeah. So this is going to be your state authorized application, and really just fill out as best you can. Talk with your health inspector. They're going to be able to guide you through it. If you're a company, if you're an individual corporation, if you're an individual partnership, we want that information, but it's not. Be sure that you get down what you have. Okay. Now the next part that you see there is the type of establishment. Okay. If you're if you're going to be a mobile establishment, that's going to be what you mark. And then if you're going to be permanent, which I assume everybody is, they're going to want a food or a mobile food. You're going to be a permanent. Okay. And you're going to be a restaurant. Okay. It's your restaurant, you're just mobile. That's all there is to it. You've got your supervisor there, your immediate supervisor. Those are going to be the people who are in charge. Those are going to be people that if there's a problem, we're going to be needing to speak to. Okay. Type of operation, either you're probably not going to be no potentially hazardous food. Like you see there under type of operation. That's not going to be what you all are. You all are going to be prepping food. So you'll either be limited, which means 1 or 2 potentially hazardous foods at most. And then a full is going to be a regular restaurant. You're going to have 2 or more potentially hazardous foods that you work with on a daily basis. So that's going to be your typical application. You're going to need to get that in at least 15 days prior to opening. That's the state code, 15 days prior to open. If you want to go back there real quick. Oh no. The far right there, the plan review packet. There we go. Now this is just the one for Mercer County. You'll want to get the one for your particular county. As you scroll down through there, it's going to ask you for a floor plan. Okay, that's going to be the floor plan for your truck, or floor plan for your layout, where your major equipment's going to be, and where everything is in the truck, or where everything is on the site. Okay. Your proposed menu, that's very important. You're going to want to go through your menu in detail. and you're going to want to go back through it. So if you have a hamburger, you're going to want to know bun, mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, whatever you're going to put on that. Even if it's peanut butter, you're going to want to be sure that it's coming from an approved location. I'll go ahead and scroll down a little bit further there. I'm assuming that most of these are going to be new. Hopefully you won't have any remodels or conversions on your mobile food. Now, these need to be in 45 days in advance. That gives your local health department plenty of time to go through them, see if they have any questions, make sure that all the other paperwork is in order, and then they'll get back with you. You want to get that submitted to them, however they'll take it digitally or in paper. You want to get that to them quickly. Your hours of operation, and this is just tentative. This isn't like, oh, we're going to be locked into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tentative is perfectly fine. Your number of seats. If you're doing mobile, if you're doing a mobile situation, you probably won't have any seats. Now, if you roll up to a situation or you set up and there's picnic tables already there, those aren't your seats. They're just seats that happen to be there. Maximum meals served. How many meals in a day do you think you're going to serve? Is it going to be 50? Is it going to be 100? Is it going to be 200? It's always best to err on the side of caution and go either 50 or 100. We would all like to sell 500 meals a day, but you may not be able to do that. And so if you keep scrolling, next is kind of your surface schedules. What that means is, what are the surfaces in your truck or in your setup? What are they? Are the floors linoleum? Are they steel? If they're tile in a mobile unit, that'd be a little weird. Are the walls RFP? Are they plastic? Are they steel? Right? They all need to be smooth, non-porous, easily cleanable. You want to keep going there? Thank you, lady. You keep going. Yeah, get to the water supply there. All right, so water supply. Okay, when you are setting up for your truck, you must get your water from an approved source. So that means either a municipal source or an approved well. Now you want to work with your sanitarian on that. If you're getting it from your house and your house is on a city system and it's an approved system, that's fine. You'll have to show your sewer and water bill is what we require, is a copy of the sewer water bill just to verify. Sewage. Anything that passes through a drain in West Virginia is sewage, be it water, be it dishwater, be it anything else. If it passes through a drain in West Virginia, it is considered sewage. It must be dumped appropriately. So it can be dumped into an approved septic or into an approved municipal sewer dumping. Okay, that's our dumping location. That's going to be one of the pieces of equipment, one of the pieces of literature that you have to provide us is where you're planning on dumping that sewage at. So doesn't matter what you're washing. If it runs through a drain in West Virginia, it's sewage. And again, some of your plumbing there, if you want to keep scrolling. Thank you, lady. So we want to be sure we go through here. All of those should probably be a yes, unless there's a special situation. Your grease trap, scroll real quick for me. There you go. The question there for the grease trap, you definitely are going to, if you're producing any kind of grease at all, hamburgers, hot dogs, you're going to want to put a grease trap on your truck. You're going to have one. Okay. I'll go ahead and keep scrolling. Toilet facilities. If you have a toilet on the truck, it would have to be inspected. If you don't have a toilet on the truck, it's not your problem. Okay. We don't require that you have one for mobile in Mercer County. That's another thing you'll want to check with your county on. Some counties say you must have access to some kind of approved bathroom. And then when you come back on the truck, wash hands and continue washing. Speaking of which, hand washing facilities. You'll have to have some sort of hand sink on the vehicle so you can wash your hands. Have to have it. Your 2-bowl or 3-bowl sink, and then you'll have to have your hand washing facilities. That way, if you do use the restroom and come back or between jobs, you can wash your hands. All right. So garbage and refuse. How are you disposing of that? Is it going to be each time you're going to throw it into your dumpster, or does it go out with your trash? Got to go out at least on a weekly basis. Okay, it has to be stored appropriately. Insect and rodent control. Okay, how are you doing that? Are you using curtains? Are you using air curtains? Those are some things that you need to be thinking about. You don't want flies flying around on the inside of your truck. They're annoying and people don't like that. Lighting, you want to be sure you've got your proper lighting within the truck. Okay, we don't want it too dark. We don't want to cut ourselves. We don't want to make any problems when we're frying something. Be a bad day. Okay, we want proper lighting. As you can see there, again, some ventilation. We want to be sure we're following through with ventilation. Okay. Dressing room and locker rooms. This doesn't really apply. If you have a dressing room or locker room on your truck, that's impressive. Storage facilities. Okay, so all the storage facilities must be on the truck. If we're storing food off the truck, they have to be an approved, permitted facility. Okay, so if you're storing food in a separate building, that building must comply with the 2013 FDA food code and all state and local codes. Okay. Laundry. If we're laundering towels, most folks don't have those. They're using paper towels. That's perfectly fine. But if we're laundering stuff, we want to be sure that we're doing it either with a sanitizer as part of the wash, or we're using a dryer. Now, you can use a washer and a dryer that are not part of your facility to do that, so long as they're being washed and dried correctly. Your other equipment. So all equipment on the truck or when you're set up must be either NSF or UL rated. Okay. And have what's called the equipment sheets or pick sheets that you can give to us. Now, most of those are downloadable off the internet, and you can just put that in with this packet. Go ahead and keep going. Okay, refrigeration. You must have enough refrigeration on the truck to meet your daily needs. Okay, so you have to have enough freezers and enough coolers to meet your daily needs. If you're storing food, refrigerated or frozen off-site in a separate building or in a separate facility, that facility has to be permitted according to state food code. And there's a place there for your menu and that kind of stuff. Want to hop out of there? You have any questions? Anybody want to hit me with one of those? Yeah. Okay, so if food is not going to be prepped on the truck, right? If food is not prepped on the truck, it's going to be prepped in a separate facility. That facility must be permitted in accordance with state code and with 2013 FDA food code. Okay, so if you're going to prep somewhere off the truck, okay, according to the state food code, it cannot be done in a private residence. Okay, it must be done in a prep kitchen that is permitted by the health department. Okay, otherwise, all prep must be done on the truck. Now, you can prep the night before and store in your coolers and freezers, so long as those coolers and freezers maintain proper temps. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, if you would, you want to go ahead and pull up the HACCP plan. Okay, so this is just for our county, but it is what I would require. This is called a limited hazard avoidance at critical control points plan. That's a big mouthful, but basically this one has to do with food sourcing. Where are we getting our food from? Okay. If you're not getting your food from Crook Brothers, Reinhart, US Foods, a certified USDA food distributor, you must get your food from a retail location. Now, what I'm talking about is potentially hazardous foods, okay? Foods that must meet time and temperature controls to prevent bacterial growth and toxin formation, okay? So meat, cheese, eggs, cut lettuce, cut leafy greens, tomatoes, no, not onions, but cut melons, those sorts of things, okay? If we're getting those, okay, we want to be sure that we are keeping a log of those foods on the truck. Okay, they must be available at all times for inspection. So another piece of paperwork that you'll have to have is your permit. Once the county, whichever county it is, issues you a permit, that permit must be visible to patrons. Okay, and whenever you're serving, that permit must be visible to patrons. That way they know that you're a permit facility.
You mentioned the retailers, that means
Right. If you are producing your own eggs or meat, okay, they must meet USDA standards and be approved as such. Okay. They cannot be if you like, for instance, I have chickens, I give eggs away. If I wanted to use those in a restaurant or give those to a restaurant, I would have to have state and federal authorization before I could do that, before that food would be authorized food. So you'd have to get with the West Virginia Department of Ag and the U.S. Department of Agriculture and get their individual authorizations. Now, if you want to go to the store, if you want to go to Sam's, if you want to go to Grant's or Kroger and buy eggs, those are potentially hazardous foods, and you would have to note it as such, at least in Mercer County. I don't know what other counties are doing with that. Okay, if you once you get approved and you get your permit, if you are replacing equipment, for instance, if you're replacing a fridge, a freezer, an oven, a fryer, a hand sink, anything like that with similar or same equipment, you don't need to let that department know. You just go about fixing your equipment. On the flip side of that, if you're adding new equipment, for instance, you're adding a blast chiller, you're adding a pizza oven, you're adding a smoker or a broiler that wasn't a part of the original plan that you saw before, then you would need to let the health department know, this is what we're doing, here's what we're adding, here's how it's changing our plan, and here's the equipment, what's called specification sheets or pick sheets. One of the major problems that they run into, that food vendors run into, one of the biggest problems is they do not thoroughly evaluate their menus. They offer way too much on their menu. Having 1 or 2 or 3 specialty items on your menu with all the various stuff you can put on those, that's usually about enough. More than that, and you run into problems with storage, prep, you run into a problem if you run out of space very quickly. Okay. Well, when we go in to do an inspection, some of the major issues that we see. Yeah. When we go in for an inspection, one of the major issues that we see with folks that do mobile food is they don't have a good setup of how they're going to maintain food safety. What I mean is they don't have an idea of how they're going to keep their cold foods cold. They have not had thought about how they're going to keep their hot foods hot. They don't really have an understanding of how to sanitize their surfaces, when to sanitize their surfaces. Their process is from a 10,000 foot view, their process needs to be looked at. How are we going to fix food? How are we going to hold food? How are we going to sanitize food? Okay, so for your food handlers cards, usually, at least for us, it's a 2-hour class, an hour and a half video and lecture together, followed by a very short 25 or 30 question test. And it's basically a general knowledge overview of food safety. It is not an in-depth food safety, but it was what the state mandates that we give each individual before we can issue them a food service workers permit. So any employees who do not, employees that need a food handler's card, are any employees that fix food, that prepare any food in any way, or wash dishes. If they do either of those two, they must have a food service workers permit. Okay. If all they're doing is serving, let's say a good example would be Cracker Barrel, right? The servers themselves do not have to have a food service workers card. Okay. They don't have to have a food workers permit unless part of their duties is preparing food. For instance, at Chili's, they prepare desserts. So they have to have a food service workers permit. Yeah. So we're talking about glove changes, right? If we're going from cooking food, taking cash, and then going back. Okay. Anytime we make that transition, okay, if you're going from a clean operation, right? So washing dishes, prepping food, or cooking, to what we call kind of a dirty operation of taking cash or any kind of payment. Okay. Then no, you just go ahead and do what you need to do. Once we move back, okay, we got to change gloves and wash hands. Okay. 20 seconds, happy birthday twice, or your ABCs, warm water, and then rinse. So suggestions for new food, folks that are new to serving food or preparing foods. You are not in your kitchen at home. That's one of the biggest things you need to remember. You are not in your kitchen at home. You are putting food into other people's mouths. Be thinking about not just how good the food is, but be thinking about If your mom, your dad, your kids, or you were eating food out from a food truck, how would you want that? How clean would you want that? Okay. One of the biggest sticking points for me is, if I go in to do an inspection, and my question to myself is, I'm not sure that I would want my child eating here. That's a question that I ask myself before either I shut a place down or keep them open. So one of the biggest things I can think of is your process. Have you thought it through? Have you looked at your menu, thought about how you're going to store your food, where you're going to store your food, how you're going to prep your food, how you're going to hold your food, and then how you're going to serve your food? Okay. So, what are some of the red flags that we look for? What that would cause? So, your bigger parts of hazard avoidance. Okay, we cover this as part of our training. For instance, sourcing. Right. If we go in to do an inspection and you can't tell me where your food's coming from, that's going to be an issue. If you don't have enough holding, right? If you don't have enough cold holding or hot holding to meet your daily needs. Water. Okay. Where is it coming from? Do we have enough for your daily needs? Okay. If I get on the truck and there's flies everywhere, that's going to be a red flag. If I get on the truck and it's dirty, that's going to be a red flag. If I get on the truck or wherever you are and there's this kind of lackadaisical attitude when it comes to food safety, I'm going to dig into that. It's going to be a red flag. Yes. Sanitizer, right? When we are between operations, when we are sanitizing, between our prepping, when we are sanitizing surfaces, one of the first things I'm going to look for is your sanitizer buckets or sanitizer sprays. Are they proper chemicals? Are they quaternary ammoniums or are they chlorine? And are they proper concentration? I'm gonna test them with test strips, and this happens even in regular restaurants. I'll go through the restaurant and none of their white buckets have chlorine in it. That's going to be a massive red flag. That's going to be, I pull the manager aside immediately and we have a conversation about food safety.
One of our folks online today by Zoom is Harold Pattison, who is a business coach with the Small Business Development Center. So Harold, this question is for you. All the things that Matt has brought up on the health department guidelines, regulations, things like that, how do you see that fitting into the business plan? Can you unmute yourself and Harold, we probably can't hear you the way this is set up. So if you don't mind to put that in the chat so that Faith can then read it, I would appreciate it.
Gotcha. I'll do it.
There's legislation before the West Virginia Congress right now, for the West Virginia legislature right now, about allowing mobile food to move across state lines with a state permit. That would be issued on a county by county basis. That's something that you're probably going to want to contact your delegates or contact your state senators and tell them that you're in favor of, because that way, if you get a permit in Mercer County and you want to move over to Greenbrier County for a fair or festival, you don't have to get a new permit or even a temporary permit in Greenbrier County. You're covered. Okay, if you're moving out of West Virginia, it's going to depend on the state. I would say at least you need to let the state know or the local sanitarian in where you're going know at least 15 days in advance. At least. If you can get in touch with them 30 or 45 days in advance, you'll be doing them a huge favor. The packet that we put together, that we have you put together for Mercer County, I know that if you move over into Virginia, either in Cumberland District or in Green or New River District, where Giles County is, those guys are they're probably going to blanket check it, take a look at it, and check mark it, because we're pretty in depth in Mercer County or West Virginia in general about what we expect. Okay, so if we're canning food and we're not falling under the special provisions of what we call the cottage industry rule, if we're serving them off the truck, and we're serving them what's called retail, that's perfectly fine as long as they're still conforming to the 2013 FDA food code. So if you're making something that requires refrigeration, you keep it refrigerated just like they would in Kroger or Sam's or something like that. And then once you buy it, once the customer buys it, then it falls to them to hold it properly.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Faith Blackwell. I'm just going to read Harold's response to Jim. He said, Jim, this would fit into the operations part of their plan. They should be thinking about the different steps they would take to prepare the food, the process of how they will clean the food truck, even down to how they will dispose of old oils.
Yes, local produce that still looks good. It still looks like it's in good condition. For instance, let's say my neighbor grows tomatoes, right? She wants to sell that at the local farmers market in West Virginia. If you want to purchase uncut leafy greens, uncut tomatoes, whole vegetables, uncut melons, okay, those are perfectly fine. You can buy those from a farmer's market just so long as they're in good condition. Now, once they're cut or prepared, then they have to be stored appropriately. Now, if you want to, like, for instance, if you wanted to buy, let's say, cut tomatoes from someone, those would be potentially hazardous. You'd have to get them from an approved source. Folks, if you have any more questions, you can get in contact with me at the Mercer County Health Department. My name is, oh, you got it in the chat? Yeah, just check it out there in the chat. My name is Matt Bragg. I'm with the Mercer County Health Department, or you can contact the state at West Virginia Environmental Health. You can just punch that into Google and it should come up for you. Yes, you can buy meat. So if you're going to buy meat from Cook's processing plant, if you're going to buy meat from Taylor's processing plant, there's one over in Summers County that a lot of folks around here use. Yes, as long as it is a USDA approved processing plant and that meat's gone through it, that's perfectly fine. If you want to go ahead and go back and pull up for me that list right there, right above it. There you go. Thank you, Larry. Yeah. So this is what we send out as our requirements for a food permit in Mercer County. Yeah, I see it. You want to go ahead? I'm sorry. You want to go ahead and read it? I'm sorry. No stupid questions. If you're looking for a list or a definition of potentially hazardous foods, we'll go to here in just a second. Let me go ahead and go through this list. If you want to scroll through that real quick. Yeah, so this is our list of like basically what I'm going to look for. Okay. As part of this, I'm going to send you as part of the packet. Go ahead and go back real quick to the stuff there. You want to go to the USDA 2013 food code. It's on right down the right. Yeah, nope, you're over. Nope, top right, bottom right. Yep. That's okay. And you want to go ahead and if you want to scroll down to definitions there, the definition that we are looking for is potentially hazardous food as defined. Everything we go by, everything we could write you up for, how we expect you to operate is covered by this document, 2013 FDA food code. Yeah, keep going. You're fine. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. It could be. Oh yeah, it's not all the way at the bottom. Okay. But in the definition section, it's going to tell you what potentially hazardous foods are, down to the minuscule of, cut leafy greens, cut tomatoes, that sort of thing. So you can hop out of there, but that's the document. If you have a question, it's, I would go on, you can either get it. I'm going to give you all, a link to my drive, but you can also get it if you just go to Google and type in 2013 FDA food code. It should pop up and you can just download the PDF. It is 800 pages, so don't print it, but it is 800 pages. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, anything that meat related or eggs related, it's going to have to be USDA approved. Okay, so for like lunch meats, if you are getting your lunch meats or your other kind of sandwich stuffs from retail locations, so Sam's, Walmart, Grants, those sorts of places, and as long as you are on your receipt, you're noting where you get them from, date and time. It's in that document that I showed you, the limited asset plan. As long as we have that on the truck, you should be fine. Okay, just be sure that we're getting those from a USDA approved source. The USDA policy changes usually every 4 years. We're actually looking at the 2022 code at a state level, but those will not be approved until 2025 at this point. So you've got at least 2 years left under the 2013 FDA food code. Be sure you check with your counties. Some counties I do think have gone to the 2017 food code, but the state has authorized the 2013 food code. So you'll want to double check. And I understand there's a lot to it. It's the food safety aspect of it can be very tricky and difficult. The best thing you can do is develop a relationship with your health inspector, with your sanitarian, and run stuff past them. As these folks will tell you, my phone never quits ringing. And it could be someone from Kroger calling me saying, hey, here's the situation. It could be a food truck that's wanting to serve, raw fish. How do we do that? if you have questions, the best people to ask are your local sanitarians.
All right, well, we are going to go ahead and wrap up for the day. Oh, let's see. One other question just popped in. I'll go ahead and read it off. Says, I know it's not related to food trucks, but what may be the standard guidelines to having a food business from home?
Okay, if you're gonna serve, prep, or store food at home, you have to have a facility that is permitted with the local health department. So what that means is that kitchen, which could be your main kitchen. However, there must be a clear dividing line between that kitchen and the rest of your house. There must be doors that self-close. You can't have access for children, that sort of thing. That kitchen is going to be, to put it in, it's going to be a special kind of sacred kind of situation, that's set aside specifically for food prep. If you want to do that in home, it gets very difficult, because then we have to come in, we have to check sewage, we have to check water, we have to check restroom facilities. All that still has to meet the 2013 FDA food code.
All right, well, with that, we are going to conclude today's Q&A. I just want to thank everyone who took time to join us today. This was recorded, so it will be available here soon. We will send that in an email. We'll also send out an email about our upcoming food handler certification class. We are going to shoot for late March or early April for this class. So just be on the lookout for that. Again, thank you to everyone who joined, and a special thanks to Matt for joining us today.